I do thank you for giving me just a couple minutes every time. This is David Tulis, and I am scrambling to get caught up with you. I know you're busy. I know you have places to go and things to do. And so what the question for you is, what's the best that he can give me in the 5 minutes I've got now? And I understand that, and I really appreciate your giving me just 5 minutes. That's all really I ask. And I think because you have the sense that because you have tuned in to the David Tulis Show here on Nooga Radio for just 5 minutes, you're getting everything you need. But it is a mistake. It's a mistake that comes thanks to the power of the radio platform. And that is that radio is so personal, it's so immediate. And your ear, as it were right here in the same room with me, and my lips, my flapping lips are almost on your ear. They're almost on your ear, and you can hear me talking directly. It's as if I'm right there with you, okay? It's so personal and so immediate and so satisfying that you think that what you get from me in the 5 minutes you've got out of a 2-hour show is sufficient. But let me suggest that you're being misled by the power of the radio sound, of the radio medium, the whole platform, the whole delivery, the receipt of this great benefit of American radio, regulated by the Federal Communications Commission. Greatly honored to be there. And that is that you don't have to read what David Tulis has to say. But David Tulis, the mild-mannered editor of Nooganomics.com, formerly with ink print stains on his fingertips, is there as well. And I suggest that you subscribe to Nooganomics.com. I've got blockbuster pieces coming out, and I've been thinking long and hard about things that are on tap for today. Right? I've been thinking about things that we have on tap today a great deal, and I want to you might say drop the bomb. But do subscribe, and also like us on Facebook. We are live on Facebook at Nooga Radio and live on YouTube at Hot News Talk Radio. So what to get to first here in the way of cultural warnings. Okay, we think that Walt Disney, the benign Hollywood mogul with the wonderful intentions to create new worlds, new vistas of experience for viewers of movies, of cartoons. We think of him when we think of Disney, right? Because that is his name after all. But in fact, the company he founded has gone queer on us some long time ago, 1998. There's a post reminding me of this. I had not thought of it lately at livesitenews.com, and it is from. I'm not remembering the name of the writer. I didn't print the whole printout, and I don't have his name here. But he was an ear witness to a lecture in 1998 by an insider lecture from Human Rights Campaign Executive Director Elizabeth Birch. At the time, she was involving herself in a student conference at the University of California at Santa Cruz. And she tells of a conversation she had with Michael Eisner, the CEO at the time. And she says, is there any press in the room? This is on YouTube, by the way. It's on our Facebook page. I reposted the YouTube link so you could watch it yourself. It's only about a minute long. Because she says, because some of these conversations are very private, she says. But then I said to Michael Eisner, CEO of Disney, I said, 30% of your employees are gay. And he said, you're wrong, Elizabeth, 40%. So we have 40%. And one wonders if a full 40% of Disney employees were homosexual back then in 1998, 2 decades before the great mudslide of gay statutes, not statutes, but gay opinions, right, that present themselves through the wonderful theory, the amicable theory of judicial supremacy. These have become effectively laws, right? Every lawyer will tell you that an opinion is a law, though he remembers from his high school civics class that we have a three-part government, and laws are written by legislatures, not judges. But we have this, and well before that great mudslide of Aubert-Jafel versus Hodges 2015. We had already 40% at that very fine American company, giving us Beauty and the Beast and a new show with a young boy who's a homosexual, and the cockles of our heart will be certainly warmed by viewing and consuming these video narratives. I want just to mention this story about this black family. Okay, the psychologist Her name is Natasha Kirkor, and she's just gotten married to a very fine man named Kelvin Farley. He's a registered nurse, and they've just arrived at their home, and they're surrounded by about 5 police cars, guns drawn. The couple are handcuffed, and so clearly they've arrived home, and the cops are there to protect the house. That they're told by some important neighbor who called 911, calling 911. We think there's someone at that house, and the family's not there, and so the cops show up, and when the family arrives, as the cops are there, well, guess what? These people must be the robbers, right? The thieves with 4 children in the car. And so this is in Gulfport, Mississippi. And this is, reasons not to call 911. Reason to call 911, not to call 911. So they go this past Sunday night, when you were having your dinner, this family was in a police department, a crummy looking police department. Obviously you don't understand our business. Okay. The officer says, your business is to protect us, right? Farley asked. This is from the sunherald.com, the newspaper in Gulfport. Wilder continued, our business is, we don't know who to protect us, right? Farley asked. Oh, Jesus, really? Wilder said. Wilder explained that police must first determine whether an individual will do them harm before they get the rest of the facts, the video shows. Wilder soon told Farley, well, obviously our conversation is not going anywhere. There's the form, fill it out. Farley said he plans to contact an attorney. Last night, he says, I would have been okay with an apology. But after what happened at the police department, that's it. My kids are totally distraught. They literally cried themselves to sleep last night. That's something nobody should go through. I worked too hard and put myself through school to protect my family so they wouldn't have to be in situations like that. To be treated like that, this is a black man talking, okay? And I say that because we have a judicial industrial oppression of black people. To be treated like that by people who are paid to protect and serve, that's ridiculous. And of course, there's an investigation going on, and the department is aware of the family's grievances from social media. While no formal written complaint has been filed, folks said we will take any allegation seriously. Well, this is all just routine. This is humdrum, okay? We have stories like this around the country that are humdrum. And we are the poorer for it. And the question I bring up these things that are these are national stories, but I bring them up here because I want to ask you, my listener, what you're going to do about it, okay? And what do you want? Now, I'm just, there's just, we don't have a scale here, right? We don't have on the David Tulis program the scale benefit, and that would be, like Chattanooga Organized for Action Verbs has scale. It's important group, liberal group, progressives. It has numbers. It has great influence. It has a lot of people respect that organization, and it has the scale problem. But with us, it's just you and me. Okay, you, my listener, and me, David Tulis, your host, the former newspaper copy editor with newsprint ink stains on his fingertips, and a lifelong in journalism here in Chattanooga, and all the necessaries that one would think are important in the obituary that would be mentioned in the obituary. I need to go ahead and write mine so that these things are not in there at all. The UVA bachelor's degree and the UT master's degree, all that doesn't mean anything to me. It never has, and it doesn't. It's not significant. I'm a lifetime member of the University of Virginia Alumni Association. I'm not sure what my parents paid to have me be that member, but I've not once responded to that the come-ons, the hundreds of come-ons that have come to me in the past 20, 30 years as a lifetime member. And maybe I should, but somehow I'm not impressed. And those things don't mean anything to me. But what does mean something to me is you, my listener, and the service I can provide to you. I want to serve you with a healthy and sound perspective, and want you to get off your duff. Now, maybe it's just the two of us. Okay. So, if we have a protest, let's say we have a protest outside the Hamilton County Courthouse. Okay. Let's say we have a protest in which we launch it. You and I, my listener, we launch it because we first go in and we find a woman who's in the jail who can't make $100 bail, and she's been in there, bail bondsman's fee. She's been in there for already 30 days, and she just can't pay the fee to get out. So here's what we do. You go in, we'll both put up $50. We'll bail her, we'll pay the bondsman, or just write a check to the court for $500 a piece, pay the bond, secure the bond, and let her out. And then the protest is, why do we have slavery in Hamilton County? Because that's what's happening. We have people whose bonds are low enough, but they have no means, and so they're in the jail, as they are in Philadelphia. The Philadelphia comptroller just a couple weeks ago came out with an important paper, 25 pages of analysis about the cash bail system that has to be reformed. He says it has to be reformed because it makes costs exorbitant for the city government and ruins people. And there's discussion in that paper about how being in jail, even for a day, on some trivial charge, can ruin people. They lose their jobs, right? They have very tenuous standing already financially. They have very iffy circumstances with their bosses. They're in late. They miss work because they have to take care of the child. All kinds, especially we're talking here about women. The chief focus of poverty in our country today are single women with children, and they are often the ones who end up with driving on suspended, things like that, right? Failure to yield, and so they're in jail. They spout it off to the officer, not good character, and they are the exercise of discretion by the officer, not that in that case in her favor. Okay. And so there she is, and she can't get out. So if we have a protest, it's just you and me, right? You and me with a sign. What is that gonna affect anything? The poster says why slavery in Hamco? Why slavery in Hamco? 4 words. That's what it would say. Now, I don't say that belligerently. I say that quietly and meekly because I realize that things are changed by the 5%. Okay, and that's always been my thinking, and why I have persisted as journalist for 5 years at Nooganomics.com. We're actually longer than that. My website was shut down by the editor of the Times Free Press when I was a copy editor there. The managing or chief editor shut it down because of an insane legacy style ethics rules system that caught me, you might say. And I voluntarily shut down Nooganomics.com when I shouldn't have, because just at the very beginning of that platform. I also shut down a pro-life website in which every week I wrote a wonderful pro-life essay, hoping to convince the girl searching for an abortion clinic in Chattanooga that she should reconsider. That was my goal as a deacon. All that shut down. But here now, we've been getting together for 5 years. You, my listener, and me, David Tulis, and we're trying to affect a good change in Chattanooga, trying to get people to understand how things work. So from a free market perspective, also from the perspective of Christianity, which is to say the standard of equity, the global intergalactic standard of equity, which is that of justice, right? Christianity has its primary concern in justice, because if justice is sought by everyone, and if justice is delivered, then we have many, many opportunities. We have an end of damage. And in our day, it is government systems, it is civil magistrate controlled systems that bring about the ruin and wreck of many, many people. The changes in the laws, the way courts are run. We have in many ways we have illusions of justice in Hamilton County and across the country. We have a kind of judicial anarchy. But that's maybe not the worst thing. The worst thing is commercial government. And commercial government is where the state, the secret religious corporation behind the government, if you will, seizes control and operates parallel to the government in an interpenetrating solid whole. It's hard to know where the government ends and the state begins, but this middle area where they interpenetrate lock them together. I would say inextricably, but I think we'll still have a government in Tennessee on the other side of the coming financial crisis. We'll still have a government in Tennessee, but the credit of the state is in jeopardy, and that of course is in the federal state. That entity has a debt of $20 trillion, and it's going to be at 33. I'm trying to remember now what David Stockman said a couple days ago at Contra Corner. It may be in the direction of $33 trillion in 10 or 15 years out, or maybe even less time than that. It is an astronomical amount. And in other words, the government is not living in the real world. Okay, if it thinks it can borrow and borrow without end, and someone's going to pay back the debt in these figurative, imaginary Federal Reserve note dollars, paper or digital. Of course, it's all digital, and your children and your great grandchildren will be paying it back. The problem that we have in Chattanooga and Hamilton County is that we have executive government. Period. Okay, the executive government national, the executive government in Nashville, in our state, is the locus of this commercial government, and it's not constitutional government. And because of that, that the hegemony of these people, these good people, these NPR listeners, who are protected effectively by the NPR narrative and the narrative of our established press, they control things executively. And the biblical model, the model that cares about equity. All right, equity is biblical. That's the same. They mean the same thing. We have courts of equity, right? The word equity applies to Chancery Court, for example, which is almost purely an equity-seeking institution. Pam Fleenor and Jeff Atherton in Chattanooga in Hamilton County, they are the ones who secure equity, right? It's a biblical concept. And in fact, if you go to Nooganomics.com, you can read a terrific little essay about the church origins of Chancery Court. I'm thinking now 13th century, and the chancellor was the godly magistrate who represents the interests of the church at that time, the Catholic Church, and the chancellor, of course, in Great Britain, eventually became part of the Church of England. But his interest was in bringing peace to the realm and finding the law in the facts, and that's an unusual suppleness of Chancery Court. Now, the whole idea of chancery, the whole idea of equity, is a biblical concept. And Christianity's primary interest, the interest of the scriptures, the interest of God, is in justice. Because just think for a second. Justice is what brought Christ to the cross. If you're a Christian and you say, well, we worship God through the Lord Jesus Christ who died for us and for our sins, what you're saying is we worship God through Christ who upheld justice, and who took the wrath of God, the right wrath of God upon himself, and for his people, right, for the benefit of the people of God. In the old times, that was Israel. In today, since the resurrection, it is the church invisible. That is to say, that the body of Christians. God saved all of them by the propitious work of his Son Jesus Christ on the cross. That is to say, the effectual self-sacrifice on behalf of his people. And why? Why? Under what standard did that happen? Well, it happened under justice. And again, Christ was crucified, died, and was buried so that the law of God, the justice of God, could be upheld. That's the simple analysis of Christianity. Christianity's main goal is to bring about justice. If it cares about justice, if God's people care about justice, well, guess what happens? You have a free market. You have courts that enforce contract. You have courts that protect life. You have courts that protect property. Now, when I say that, I'm thinking of a conversation I had at dinner a couple of nights ago with John Pike, who's in the printing business. And Jeanette and I had dinner with John Pike and his lovely wife, Ann, and we talked about this question about the role of the state. And my observation then, as it is to you, as we're sipping here our ice waters and eating our very fine salads in Hickson at a restaurant, my observation is that God does not want the government to be active. He wants the government to be passive. He wants government to be primarily that of the court. The court is government, right? In other words, we don't need judicial branch, we don't need executive branches, and we don't need legislative branches. The idea, even Montesquieu and the other founders of conservative thought, if you will, of constitutional thought, their goal was really to expand the government. If you envision a court, but also an executive branch and a legislative branch, what are you doing? You're expanding government. So even the conservatives, right? Even the founders. Of course, we know about Hamilton wanting to expand government and to have a centralized unitary state. We know about him, right? The man after whom our county is named. But in the end, all of them, even Washington, wanted to have an expansion of government in three parts. Yes, 3 parts. I understand we need to have 3 parts so that each part will limit the overweening urge for usurpation by the other branches, right? We have stability in jealousy, you might say, among the 3 branches. But in the end, what these people wanted was an expanded government. So the founders believed in expanded government, and they were just following their time, right? These ideas had percolated up for some time from Thomas Hobbes, I guess, from that period in the 15 and 1400s, and so the biblical model is really against that. It has in view a court. The court is government, and the court is open. Now, what that means is, as Jerry Summers will tell you, the court is open, and that means that the court is waiting. It's not reaching out into society to regulate people, to direct them, to make them safe, to bring justice ahead of the conflict, right? That's what the regulatory surveillance state is all about, bringing justice before the conflict. That of course, that's the invitation to the total state. So Republican forms of government, I think, always end up in totalitarianism. They have the right form for jealously preserving the rights of the people. The government is self-restraining by law, self-restraining by function, but in the end, it really can't. It can't function. The American experiment, I think, David Tulis thinks the American experiment has failed because our government is on paper one thing, but in fact, it's something else. The biblical model is the model of chancery. Chancery waits, right? Pam Fleenor, Jeff Atherton, chancellors, chancery court judges wait for the dispute. And when there's a dispute, the people come to them. Now, that could be a dispute that is a crime. That could be a dispute that's a tort. They come to the judge for a verdict, and the verdicts are in the Bible. Just read Leviticus, just read Deuteronomy. There are two kinds of verdicts. One is capital punishment for capital offenses, and the other is restoration and restitution, victims' rights, in other words. There is no blood price for some crimes like murder. There's rape. There are no blood prices. In other words, you can't buy your way out. If you're guilty of rape, you're executed, period. If you're guilty of sodomy, you're executed, period. But all the other offenses, which we have today as crimes, sentence, we don't have a prison in the biblical model. We have a restitutional model, and the judges give restitution. They make things right. They try to restore the status quo ante, the status quo before the offense occurred. And there's compensation. There's a compensation mechanism, and that's described. But the Reformed writers, the Christian Reconstructionist writers, are the ones who have developed this theory, this concept. And it is not theory; it is simply reporting on what is there. And I have given a little time to this line of thinking. Well, this is David Tulis, and so what do we want here? We want to have in Chattanooga and Hamilton County a sense of justice, a desire for justice. The left wants it. Some people on the right want it. But in the end, it can't. The solution for our problems cannot be national. They have to be local. What can we do? I think that the Hamilton County Drug Court is a step in the right direction. As we've read in the press in the past couple of years now, developments in this court have saved the county government $3 million in judicial costs and jail costs, and it diverts people who have mental problems from the jail, from the regular docket. This is a very important development. It's very favorable to rebuilding, and I would say reconstruct. It is a kind of a reconstruction of the judiciary. It is a back-end repair, we could say, rather than a front-end solution, which I think there may be a front-end solution. And this is David Tulis. I'm glad you're giving me just a minute of your time. Do listen now. I've got some important announcements for you, important announcements from our sponsors, and appreciate your giving me just a couple minutes of your time. We're going to talk with some important people who are going to describe for us the mental health course. David
HD4 Udawa, W224AZ Chattanooga, 92.7 Digital FM.